What's up, y'all? I'm Teej, and I'm not so collected. I'm more of the crazy and unfiltered one.
And this is another episode of A Crazy Little Thing Called
The podcast that dives headfirst into the craziness of millennial life.
Welcome to the shit show, guys.
Well, we have made it to this finale of season 3 of this little podcast that goes by Crazy Little Pod, which is the podcast that dives headfirst into the beautiful, complicated, and sometimes crazy world that is millennial life. I am sore and tired, but I also answer by the name Teej, whose voice decides to go out right when he says that. Who am I joined with today on this microphone?
I am alive and energetic. The lovely Natalie. Oh, not too long.
The coffee
I have a
is working
burst
right
of
now.
energy in the morning, and then it just kind of like dies down. But
It fades throughout the day.
ride this
Yeah,
wave as best as we can.
we are, because literally after we finish recording, I'm like, do I want to edit this now or do I just want to go watch TV? Because I need to catch up on shows because I haven't watched anything in a very long time. But that is not why we are here. We are here because it is a finale episode of season 3. You know, one of these days I'm going to learn I know how to do it. I just don't ever put the energy into putting sound effects to our thing because then that
Like,
would
insert
require
the-
me to go back and actually listen to everything instead of just making sure the beginning and ends are good. And then I have my like lazy neck Savage Fenty shirt on, so I look all homely.
No, he
Um,
be comfortable.
comfortable. Yes, I forgot about those commercials. Was that Downy?
Yes.
Yeah. Uh,
Me and my mom say that all the time when we don't really like what we're wearing. You're like, you look comfortable.
so shady all around. Good to know it's universal.
Yep.
But anyway, yes, finale episode. So excited. It's crazy that, again, this has been 3 years of this, that we're doing this. It's pretty insane to me, but hey, we are still moving and grooving, shoulder turning along. So for this, hopefully part 1, we'll see how long we can stretch things out to give you a 2-part episode. For part 1, we're just going to take a journey down the season and just recap, because we think, just very similar to how we did in the mid-year review, to have an end of the year review. I have to sneeze, but I don't know if it's going to come out or not. So if you see a brief
Because you
pause,
said it, now it's not going to come out.
I pray that happens. But we're going to go through the season and just kind of reflect on the episodes that we have so diligently put together and talked about. And another thing that I will say, which there'll be a surprise coming for you all, but as I've been editing things and watching the mannerisms of us,
What do you mean? Like, you're noticing?
like, yes, like I talk with my hands a lot and I do the praying hand things a lot, and I did not realize that. And you drink coffee a lot since
Oh, I
we
do
started this.
Trust me,
And I'm like, wow, our little ticks. And yeah. Anyway, and we wear crew necks a lot, even when it was hot. Oh, okay. That, and then these
I'm
things,
right-
like the whispering.
I'm right in
You're
front of
right
my
where?
air. My air.
Okay.
I'm always.
And there are so many episodes where you have left to pee before it's ended because you don't get it anymore. So those have been so interesting to remember.
I've grown because that hasn't happened
Yes.
a lot lately, huh?
Yeah. I mean, we've also had a lot shorter episodes, so that is also probably why, but you
Don't
go.
Don't so much joy.
Okay, I'm sorry. Anywho, so yes. Is there anything that you would like to say before we jump into all of the lovely episodes that we have recorded over the past? Our first episode, which is craziness, from the season, came out January 17th. And here we are in November.
It's so weird how quickly like time just flies by. And this is probably going to be part 2, but like to think where I was in January to now.
I was about to say, yeah. So hold that thought, because we are going to get there. But anything that you want to add before we jump into the episodes?
No, I mean, it's funny that you bring out, like you said, just kind of like the little mannerisms. I know I drink a lot because I do it, obviously, what I do for a living, telehealth. I
True.
drink, I go back and forth between drinking and like my water. And I think it's not a nervous habit, but I need to have something
hmm
like that I'm drinking or doing with my hands because then I'm
And
just,
maybe that's what I need to do too, because I start doing this because I don't know what to do. And maybe if I had some, well, because even yeah, I think when last episode, whenever I had I was like, I'm trying to drink this. Another thing I remember, we say lovely a
I was just about to say,
lot. And I was like, oh, this is weird. Because we'll say this lovely thing called, or this lovely podcast, or our lovely co host. And I'm like, what the hell? I don't say that in my normal life.
note it.
So I'm like, why do I? So it's been interesting to like listen back and watch back and be like, guess what? Next season, not doing that. Or at least I'm going to try not to. But anyway, okay, let's jump into this little review recap thing of sorts. So, like I said, our first episode came out on January 17th of 20 and 20. What do they say? The year of our Lord 2024. And it was a shoot the shit episode, so I don't have much of a description for that one. But we kicked off the season the way we usually do. We did have our teaser episode that came out before that, but we usually record those like literally after the season once we get the thing wrapped up. So I didn't include it. But our first episode was a lovely shoot the shit episode titled "This Shit Again," which I don't know if people have noticed or if you have noticed. Like any shoot the shit episode typically has shit in the title. I think I kind of want to change that for next year. You know how like I did it because you know how like Issa with Insecure, every episode had like hella for the whole
Uh-huh.
season. So I'm wondering what I can brainstorm, and you too. I need you to get some ideas too of what we can do for our shoot the shit episodes next season instead of shit if we do something different. But moving along, our next episode came out January 31st. It was a crazy little thing called Adulting, and Favorite, and it was I would say a nasty episode. It was a Natalie, okay, there you go. It was a Natalie episode where you eased us into the season with us going through a list of our favorite things, from movies to books and guilty pleasures and all the fun stuff in between. Do you remember anything about that episode? I'm trying to think. I know this was one of the ones that this was when we were doing the whole batching episodes thing. Remember that? So we recorded
Oh,
this like at the end of last year, I think, and then put it out this year. But do you remember anything about, I guess, 2023 when we were going through this? I know, I was like,
um, hell, I feel like it was so far, far
It
away.
was.
Yes.
The one thing I do remember, not necessarily about the episode, but about the first couple episodes from this season outside of the Shoot the Shits was when we were recording together. Like it was before we started using this platform. So I was looking back at videos, which I'm not going to edit, of us sitting on the couch talking about all these things. Because I remember we would push the little couch back against the record player and make it look all, woo. Yeah, no, that's definitely over. And if y'all hear booming again, my neighbor's dog has started. And slight tangent. Last night when I got home, it was kind of late, and literally it was like 1 a.m. before I can go to sleep. And literally, I just hear them. I don't know if this dog's name is Max or Bark or Mark. I don't know, but I hear them yelling it occasionally when he does something, and I'm like, at 1 o'clock, really? Anyway, back to the episode. So yes, anything you remember from January 31st in your favorite episode?
I don't, but like side note on just kind of like that format, I remember
hmm
just kind of going into this season, I was like, what are we going to talk about? Because I feel like coming into the
We
third one, it's
covered
just like
so
we've
much.
covered everything. So I
Literally.
remember my mindset when coming up with that episode. I was like, oh, it could just be random questions and we could just identify like our favorites. And it came and
It came.
it
It
conquered.
worked. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
It came and it conquered.
It
Um, yes. What a lovely episode it was. I actually do want to go back and listen to that. I should have went back and listened to that episode to see if my favorites have changed. We should have done that to see if
cool,
our
yeah.
favorites have actually changed. I didn't think about that. Maybe we'll see what happens. The next episode up on the list was Crazy Little Thing Called Love, Darkness to Light. And it was a me episode. And I do remember this, and I wanted to do this episode because it was coming out on Valentine's Day. It was talking about the roller coaster of love and falling out of love and then finding love again, which I remember. Do you remember anything about that time of February of 2024? I'm about to say 2022. Jesus, we went back far.
I remember when you did this episode because I was like,
Hmm.
how very fitting
Hmm.
to my life at the moment,
Hmm.
the little roller coaster
Hmm.
it was. But I don't remember completely like what was said. Obviously, I would have to go back and listen,
Hmm.
but I recall not being as open as I am now. So that's
Hmm.
an interesting kind of take from it.
Yes, I remember that as well, and I think same here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember because I'm trying to think. I don't even because again, I think this was another one of those episodes that we recorded before
Yeah.
when we were again doing the batch. I think these might have been the only two. I think actually we might have recorded three, and I think I'll remember the other one because it was a U episode that we recorded before. But I remember this one was coming. We recorded these at the end of last year, maybe December of last year, and we were in that mindset of what we had been through the year before and how we were just going to be new beings in 2024 when it came to love. And I will get to that part in part two, but yeah, I don't know how much at the beginning of the year we lived up to that optimistic outlook that we had.
How
But hey, yeah, we tried. We tried in the beginning of the year. I think maybe things have changed. We'll find out maybe and see how that goes. But yes, I do remember it was going through the journey of, leaving a person. And I think we even talked not even just like romantically, like friendship wise as well, because I think also during that time I was going through that too.
yeah.
And then just being more open to starting over and what that process looks like and, how to cope with it, leaning on your friends whenever you are going through that romantic breakup or leaning on your partner when you're going through that friendship breakup. Remember us going through that whole roller coaster thing and how fitting to put it out on Valentine's Day, which I'm sure no one, well, maybe people did want to hear that because maybe if you sit in Valentine's Day all alone, you might be like, how can I recover? Like, I spent Valentine's Day with my therapist, so that was not at night, just so that we're clear. Like in the during the day, I don't remember what I did for Valentine's. What did you do for Valentine's Day? Do you remember?
Because it was during the week, so I
It was like on
worked.
a Wednesday. It would have to be a Wednesday because that's literally the day these episodes come out. So
Yeah.
I
I didn't do anything that day.
don't think I know I didn't either.
I was gifted lovely gifts.
Oh my gosh, yes, the black one.
Yes.
Yes, yes. Oh, not person.
Wait,
Obviously, they're all
no.
black for her. Yeah, it was the black one. I mean, me
The
too. I
black one
don't do the other species either. Because that one was Christmas. No, that one was birthday. The
yeah.
black one was
The
Valentine's.
Christmas.
Yes, because
But
Christmas?
yeah, I don't think I got. I think I just got like flowers and
The card.
a card
Mhm.
and I don't know.
Yep,
What did I
it's a
get?
lot to think back. Okay, the black one was Christmas. I know it's funny because I think in the next episode, the next Shoot the Shit episode, you actually wore it. So it's probably possible that yeah. Anywho, so yes, oh, Valentine's Day, how are you? Our next episode came out on the 20th of February, and it was another Shoot the Shit episode titled More Shit for You. So again, just going through the loveliness of that. I have to sneeze again, and it didn't come out the first time, but yeah.
Don't make that.
Anyhow, I know. What did you just say?
I said don't make that face no more.
Okay.
Hmm.
Our next episode, which I did not put a description for, sorry everyone, was a Teej episode called Crazy Little Thing Called Adulting, and it was Into Me I See, where we explored intimacy in all of its. Did you see what I did there? You see what I did there? Intimacy in all of its forms, whether it is platonic or romantic, or if we thought it was more than just sex. Do you remember anything about that episode? I obviously don't remember much because I didn't even bother to put a description. So sorry, y'all. Yeah, but do you remember anything about that lovely episode?
Um, I
Mm,
feel like I do recall when we were recording that, and like you said, it was intimacy is not just like sexual related. It was,
mhm,
kind of that connection, that companionship, and all that stuff too. So I
mhm,
feel like
mhm.
we covered like the love and the friends, all encompassing under the adulting
Yeah,
aspect of it.
I think we might have even touched on love languages in that one too. I need
Mm,
to about how you can show up, and be intimate without, sex and stuff like that, and how that relates to love languages and how people can receive it.
yeah, yeah.
Which is actually funny because I just had a conversation with someone yesterday, yesterday in regards to love languages and like how so often like we try to love people in our love languages instead of
Hmm.
theirs, and how that can literally be how it's frustrating because while you think you're literally showing this person like I love you, I care about you, all this stuff like that, and they don't think that you are, but you're like, do you not see what I'm doing? But if you aren't doing it in a way that they're set to receive it, it's literally you're fighting a losing battle. And so that was
That's what
interesting too.
we fight about all the time. Not we, but you know who I mean.
Oh, I was like, I think we've kind of learned each other by now.
That's been our
Okay, good. Look at
biggest
that.
challenge. Not fight about, but bigger challenge is like,
Discourse.
okay, like just because you want to doesn't mean that that's what I need. Like, okay.
Hmm.
Hmm.
It's hard. It is hard for people to because I was definitely one of those people that was like, "Did you, and then yeah.
But
But if
you
they're
have
not willing to receive,
also too, like yes, it has to be compromised. It can't be one or the other. Like you also have to let the person love you the way that they love you as well.
yes, you can't just shut off that completely and say, no, you don't love me. You're not doing this right. It's like meet me halfway. Like know this, but also I guess that takes a self-aware person, which we talked about last episode. Self-awareness is not a self-aware person to realize they are trying. And it opens those lines of communication. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, because that can also foster a deeper sense of intimacy. See how I brought that back to that episode? And that also was a pre-recorded one. I do remember that. And then this episode that we're jumping to now was our last pre-recorded one, which was a Natalie self-care episode titled "Who You Callin' Sassy," which Natalie brought to the table the conversation about sassy men. And I'm pretty sure, and I'll let you kind of confirm it. Now, this was brought on by a TikTok trend that was going
Well,
on.
it wasn't a TikTok trend, but it was like shown on TikTok a lot. Like
Okay.
we're talking about that, like kind of how
Hmm.
the culture of dating and the culture of just like masculinity and femininity has like shifted and like
Hmm.
recognize, but on some certain level, recognizing that like men have feelings too and kind of want to
Hmm.
be not catered to, but I mean, for lack of better words, catered to and all that.
Yeah.
But it's being seen as sassy.
Hmm.
It's being seen as
Hmm.
like you want to be
You
pursued.
do too
You
much.
want to be, yeah.
We want to be chased too. It's funny because I actually do remember. Uh, I remember this episode vaguely, but I remember like the era now of those conversations, and I remember like the other podcasts and stuff like that when they were talking about it in the interviews of about how because we also talked about emotional maturity in
Hmm.
women as well. I think we did kind of focus on like the masculinity aspect and men being vulnerable, but then we also talked about emotionally mature women and how they want a man that is in touch with that and vulnerable and can communicate and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Whereas a woman or a person that isn't emotionally mature will see this as being sassy or whatever like
Hmm.
that. Why do I keep saying whatever like that? I don't know, but whatever like that. So yes, I remember this was actually a really good episode. And I don't want to say this was my favorite episode of the season, but it might have been just because it was very thought provoking, and
Hmm.
it was also very aligned with the time and what was going on. So yeah, I did
Look at me
enjoy this
coming
episode.
with the
And yeah,
hitters.
I told you I always enjoy your episodes so much more. I don't know why. I guess because I don't have to do shit besides talk. I don't have to think. But yeah, that could be why. I don't know. Anything else you want to add on that one before we jump to the
Mm-mm.
next
I did like that episode. Yeah.
one? It was really good. And as I said, again, that was our last pre-recorded one, so we had a little more time. So you had a little more time to get things right for
Yeah.
that one, which I missed those days of actually getting things right. But it's harder. The thing I think with the pre-recorded one was while we're recording it early, the whatever may be going on then, but by the time we put it out, it's like it's long gone. So it's hard to keep up with relevant
Right.
topics that are going on that are actually affecting millennial lives. Whereas by that time, it's kind of like moved on. Because I think even in one of the episodes that was pre-recorded, when we had our melanin moment, we talked about the whole Jada Pinkett thing, which was happening towards I think the end of last year, but then that came out this year, and it just kind of I don't know. It's hard. I like that the pre-recorded thing because it allows us more time to like actually flush out episodes and not feel rushed to do it in 2 weeks. But then at the same time, it's like you miss the what's actually happening now whenever
Yeah.
you do that. So I do like this format. Just 2 weeks, to get things together. I guess I need to start not batching episodes, but then yeah, it's like it's hard to even come up with topics early because then what if by the time it's time to
I feel like if
podcasting
we do that, it would be kind of like, when we have a structure for our episodes of like when we use Reddit or like the Facebook
Mhm.
or something like that. And so
Yeah.
really talking about current events.
Right. Next on the docket, April 10th, we had another Shoot the Shit episode called Just Watching Shit, which I can guess what that was about. We just caught up on a bunch of shows that we were watching because it does seem like our Shoot the Shits always end up going to shows because I think that's one of the, I don't want to say a few things we have in common because we have a lot in common, but I know you gonna watch TV and I watch movies, so we always can go back and forth through that. The next episode, April 24th, was a crazy little thing called Adulting. It was our first guest episode with Talking That Real Estate with Brooks, who we actually just talked about before because now you are apartment house, townhouse hunting. So we
We
have to reach
X'd
out
out
to good
the
old
apartment.
Brooks. Okay, no apartments. No apartments. We are moving on up to the
Yep.
deluxe house in the sky.
Yep.
So yes, we had our lovely friend and realtor Brooks join us and give us all kinds of tips and advice on uh, house buying and when is the appropriate time, renting, all kinds of stuff,
Yeah.
which for us was very timely because I think around this time you might have been looking for houses in Beaumont
Yeah.
at the time, and I think this was around the time where I was kind of deciding like I know I don't want to stay in this apartment anymore. Do I want to buy a house or do I want to just move elsewhere? Spoiler alert, did not buy a house. And I think actually I
Spoiler,
decided
I did
that
not either.
I
Not
think
even
actually it was from this
counting.
episode that is when I decided whenever he was telling us about how much money you need to put down, and I was like, yeah, no, so we're not ready for that. But anything else you remember uh, from this episode? Sorry, I was reading. So now Apple has it to where you can it transcribes your podcast. So like for ADA and stuff like that. So instead
Oh,
of
cool.
listening, they can read it. And I'm looking at what it transcribes, and I'm like, the first thing is we probably made that as a first, and I'm like, what were we saying there? And then it says I'm not self-elected, and so I don't know what it's transcribing, and I don't know what we were potentially saying to help. But anything you remember from this episode with our good friend Brooks?
Yeah, no, I remember it being very informative. And like you mentioned, I was in that whole mindset of like trying to look for a house to buy in Beaumont. Still wants to be the plan, but it was definitely helpful for me just to kind of like ask theoretical questions and
Mm-hmm.
feedback and just kind of get confirmation on things that I thought were helpful to do in situations. And so,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, no, I always like when we have guests on it. I feel like it
Me
just
too.
adds to the show, but this is
Yes.
definitely informative for sure.
Mm-hmm. I do love having guests, and we spoke on this maybe not last episode, but the one before that about how we would want more guests, but just timing and stuff like that is always so. And so that was another thing that I was thinking of for like next season and thinking of with guests and stuff like that. Instead of having episodes like this where we're like interviewing guests or something like that, almost just bring a friend on to just have a regular conversation.
Yeah.
That way it doesn't feel like we have to like plan anything or whatever
Mhm.
like that. It's just almost like a shoot the shit episode with our friend on it to just talk about whatever is going on in life. That way it's less pressure of like we need a schedule and stuff like that. It's just like, hey, are you free on a random whatever night? Like let's
Mhm.
just catch up almost.
And those could be ones that we actually pre-record too.
True. Because
Well, we probably would talk about things currently going on, but it probably would still be
Mhm.
relevant.
Yeah, I think so too. That would be cool. So something for us to think about in our little mental notes for next season. But then our next episode was a meat episode in the Friends bag, which, as I'm thinking, so the episode was a bunch of would you rathers or this or that kind of things that I asked you in relationship to friends. And then as I'm looking at this title, and I must have, let's see, May 8th. I think I was still on the drugs. Because why would I name this episode? Well, first of all, I named it WWYDIYSWAHCAAOTPF.
I
Why
remember.
would I name that? I mean, I know what it was, but why would I do that? And so I definitely, as I was re-editing, went back and shortened it to WWYD. But this was, do you know the letters, obviously, because you're a millennial like me, or do you know? Okay, I was like,
Yeah, no, no,
so I thought
no.
I was cool. I thought I was being cool, and then I'm like, that is too many damn letters. So yes, that will definitely be shortened to just WWYD. But yes, in this
What
episode,
would you do if I was at home?
I'm
Huh?
crying
Oh,
all alone on my
mhm.
bedroom floor. And I didn't want to go because he's hungry, because that's just way too many letters. So I just stopped at bedroom floor. But yes, so a bunch of questions. Again, I don't care about my episodes because again, no description. But I do remember this one of being, asking just random questions about which would you rather, or this or that when it came to friends. Anything you remember about this lovely Teej episode? Hi, here it's just episode.
I think the allergies are getting to you today.
I think it might be that too, and I probably
Hmm.
should take it because I was outside all day yesterday. So I'm like, it's probably. I should take a Claire. Okay, we outside tonight. Hey, sorry.
We get so sidetracked. Anyways, um,
I mean, I got ADHD. I
I
got to read. I don't know about
don't
you.
really recall too much of the specifics, but I do remember when we were doing like the would you rather and just kind of
hmm
picking the lesser of two evils
hmm
in some certain
Exactly.
situations. But yeah,
Our next episode was a you episode, and there's almost a month gap between those two episodes. So apparently, we were dealing with stuff in May. What did we do in
May.
May? Yeah, because this episode, the Friends episode came out May 8th, and then this next You episode didn't come out until June 5th. I'm trying to think of what were we doing in May that we took a break for just one episode, obviously, but what did we do? Honestly, I've just been tired. I don't know. It's the thing about producing your own show. You don't have timelines to follow with anybody else. It's like, yeah, today wasn't a good day.
Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know.
remember either.
May is just
May.
random.
Yeah, so random. But anyway, we popped back up on y'all in June for a Natalie self-care episode titled Mental Health Horrors, where Natalie took us through horror stories of people's mental health things. We talked about the stigmas around mental health, and Natalie, our resident therapist, debunked some common myths and even, excuse me, shared us some interesting, I was going to say some crazy, but interesting, since I get up in that way, stories that she found online, not in her own personal practice, because she is ethical and great. Stories that people have dealt with their therapists. Anything you would like to recall from that episode?
um, Obviously, those episodes are really easy for me to talk about because it's what I do in my life. But I remember when I was coming up with that episode, like I said, I just love pulling other people's stories into it
hmm
and like getting our like responses and
hmm
our insights on like their situations. So, but it was extra funny because like reading these stories, obviously I know this is a profession, so I'm like, this is crazy, but
Literally.
it definitely happens.
Which is insane to me. I do remember this episode. I also remember talking about my journeys in therapy, and I think we talked about a lot of like men in mental health spaces and therapy and all the myths with that. And it's funny because even recently talking with my therapist, I don't remember how we even got on the topic of convert of like therapy,
Hmm.
which is weird because we're in therapy, so always, but like bad therapy experiences. Because I was telling about who and how their therapist used to take the sessions while driving, and I remember telling my therapist that, and she was like, "That is insane! Like what?" That, and then she goes, "There's like so many therapists need to be reported," and I'm like, "Yeah, they do." And she was saying because she's heard stories from her clients about therapists falling asleep in session, and right now, my therapist is pregnant, and she's like, and right now, like I'm super tired, but if I'm not gonna fall asleep, because then what do you think of like now? I don't care, whatever, like that. And she was like, if I'm having one of those days, which a lot of, she was saying she's been so open about, when she got pregnant, she was like, so, all this stuff because she was like, there's going to be times where I might not be able to, or we have to switch to virtual instead of in
Yeah.
person because sometimes just getting out of the house is a lot. And I'm like, thank you for, sharing and being open and stuff like that instead of just falling asleep or literally taking a call in while you're driving. Because even she said, she was like, I don't even want my clients to take a call while they're driving. It's like, can you pull over or do we need to reschedule? And it was funny because I was like, yeah, because if they crash, what do you do? She was like, exactly. I'm gonna just hang up the phone and say, I didn't know what happened.
You
I
know,
said,
so many of my clients like are driving while they're doing it, but most of them like find a place and they park. But the
mm,
people that are driving, they have their phone like positioned. It's like mounted on their
mm-hmm,
something like that, and they're not looking at the camera. They're driving.
mm-hmm.
But
And I remember you saying that because you had a lot of, that was around the other company. We had a lot of high school around that
yeah.
era of things. Yeah.
But I think too, because I have a lot of military clients now, and
Oh,
so damn near 95% of my caseload is all military, and so they're just everywhere. They're just going places.
okay.
So that's probably it too. But kind of speaking of the topic of this episode, recently tying it into what we were watching, the Menendez brothers and stuff like that, and even the situation that happened with their therapist, like
Mm-hmm.
it was crazy.
Insane.
Was it Eric? Yeah, Eric was the one
Mm-hmm.
that disclosed
Went
all
to the
of what had
therapist.
happened to the therapist, but then the therapist basically just kind of
Blackmailed him.
blackmailed, extorted, or whatnot. Like,
Hmm.
okay,
But
now
then
you've crossed the line.
even before that part, the
He
fact that
raped his client. Is that what you're talking about?
that
Yeah.
too, no, I wasn't going there, but yes, but also the fact that he they said the only reason that the dad even went to that one because he was the only therapist that would tell them everything that the sons were saying in session.
And the
And
sons were grown.
thank
Yep.
you. And so it's weird now because why would if I was in that predicament, just like allegedly what they were going through, I wouldn't be honest with my therapist because I know it's going to get back to my family. Like, where's the patient doctor confidentiality there? Which is interesting because bringing it back to current events, did you see that the LA district attorney actually recommended resentencing?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm really
Which
interested to
I'm
see how
happy.
that's going to go. Yeah, yeah. And so, and it's not like they will just, well, yes, they'll get time served. Like they've already served. I didn't realize they'd been in there for 35 years.
Because it
Like
happened.
that's insane.
Eric was.
18 and 21.
Yeah, I was about to say he was just
Yeah,
a
adult.
adult.
So yeah, that'll be interesting to see in the months coming up, like what actually happens with that. And a lot of people are saying it's just because that district attorney, I think it's or attorney general, one of those is up for re-election and isn't doing well. So they're saying
Mm.
he's recommending it to try to get votes. But it's also like after seeing what we've seen in the documentary and the docuseries, it's kind of like, yeah, I mean, I don't think they shouldn't have gotten anything, but life seemed, especially given the circumstances and how they played that trial, I don't know, that was interesting. But totally not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about us and all the crazy little things that we went through. So yes, anything else on the mental health episode? I think we kind of covered that one
No.
pretty well. The next one was a Shoot the Shit episode on June 19th, which was Juneteenth. So, of course, I called this one Freedom and Shit because we caught up and we talked about, oh, so I did put a description on this one. This is when we were watching Summer's House, Martha's Vineyard, and all of the burnout we were experiencing in our lives. And this was, it's another thing that from this season that we did more consistently, at least towards the beginning was the crazy cocktails. We were actually, this is before I think we switched to recording in the morning. So we
Mhm.
was drinking because one, you had just finished working and you needed one as well as I.
Mhm.
But yeah, good times on that one. I do miss Summer's House March. I do miss Summer's. So that is really hard to say for some reason.
The myth.
Summer's House, Martha's Vineyard, and I'm still pissed that it is on a pause,
I
quote
know.
unquote, because man, those are some good shows or
Yeah.
good episodes. Next up on our list was the episode right after my birthday. This came out July 17th because I'm cool. I don't actually remember when we recorded this because obviously my birthday. Anyway,
Yeah.
this was I don't even know if this was, I guess this would be considered a me episode in a sense. This was the one that was our mid-year review titled An Emotional Review, where we went back and just reflected on the mid-year, our progress and where we were. This was the first episode. Natalie cried. Woo!
I
I don't know
did.
why you cried.
I
You
don't
did.
remember
I think it was because, what did I bring? I think maybe because, oh, I talked
the
about,
talk.
because this was, yes, that was why. And also I think during this time I kept having these reoccurring like conversations and just like around purpose and letting go and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, just like in my life in general. And so I just like kind of brought it to the show. And, and it's even still, I think I've gotten kind of better at the purpose thing. Like, I think I've kind of worked through that. Shout out to therapy. But that was like a reoccurring thing in my life, that I was just like this thing of purpose and just like being able to let go, because I had been dealing with some, which we'll get to in part two of this. And so I think I was just finally accepting that what I was going through, and then ready to just start working through it. And this is also, I think, the first episode we recorded. Let me go back to the date of the other one. Yes, this is the first episode we recorded after I was diagnosed with ADHD and was on
Mm.
proper medication for it. And so I think, which is so crazy to me, how, as I'm looking back at this, like how the meds actually did help, like, first of all, it did help my anxiety of things, and I think it helped me think more clearly, which is weird, I guess, but I guess that is what it's supposed to do because it's supposed to help you focus. But just to see the switch when I was going back through this for this episode and seeing from after this episode to the end of the episode how just my thinking was different, which I think we'll
Mhm.
talk more in part two of this. But yeah, anything from the emotional review episode that you remember
So
for this one?
I remember what I was crying about, and then I do remember why we had that gap in May. So Randy had
Oh,
passed, and
yes, because he
so,
passed around Mother's Day. Yes,
mm-hmm.
that was why.
I
That
mean,
was
it
why.
was all a blur. Everything is just bam, 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 bam.
Time. It's crazy how time really works.
It is crazy.
It
So
is.
something.
Anything else from the mid-year review that you remember? I'm trying to think if there's anything
No,
else for me.
which kind of what you said earlier, I think it kind of would be cool if we, maybe botch these with current and like seeing what changed
Mm-hmm.
and like how our mindset is different and where we're at now. Maybe that might be something like to visually post on like a YouTube or something.
Yes. Now my wheels are turning of like how we can literally, because we've done, obviously we do a bunch of shoot the shit episodes, but then like even through the seasons of like, if we just like while we're recording a new episode, kind of like play clips from our old one and like just
Put it
see
like
who we
a
are
great
now.
box.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And see how much we have changed from, because it's again been 3 years. Excuse me, I was looking at the calendar, and the whenever part two is scheduled to come out is the day before the day we recorded our pilot 3 years ago. And I'm like, and granted, we recorded it a lot earlier than we released it because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. So I was like, I just need some time to make sure. And then now it's crazy because now I'll be doing this shit in like 2 days. But it's crazy to think of like the people that we were in the house is sitting at that little gray table recording stuff, and just how far we've actually come in even like the way we do our episodes. Because do you remember the days of literally trying to plan episodes together and like trying to go off of cues and how just unnatural?
So, so like methodical,
Ugh,
structured, and it was just like if we just took our mics to gringos, this wouldn't be an issue.
never happened, which is something that I want to bring up at the end of the part one. But I feel like you guys know. But anything else that you remember about the emotional review? And then I think that would be after, if you have anything, would be a good place to take a quick break. So since this is where we took a break in the season and continue on with the other half. But yeah, anything else that you wanted to bring about for that one?
No, nothing that
All
I
good.
can recall.
Okay. Well, we will take a quick break and then we will be right back to continue our deep dive into season 3 of this lovely. I did it! Lovely, stop! Why is lovely the word of this interesting season 3 of A Crazy Little Thing Called? So stick around.
We are back, and as we were talking before we left, we were following TJ as he was recapping this lovely season for us, and so take it away.
I will, and I will take it away and give it to you because our next episode was a Natalie episode in your family bag, where we had our second guest of the season in an episode called Generational Ish, featuring Mom, where you took us down a lovely rabbit hole of different family dynamics from different generational viewpoints. So anything that you want to remember. Oh, also, before you jump into that, this was the episode we got our first letter of the season.
Yeah.
A homegirl who we never heard back from. So let's just see how that goes. But yeah, anything you remember about this episode?
We did hear back from her, but it was after the fact. Remember?
Oh, right. Yeah, but I don't. But then it went away. But yeah, there it goes.
Mhm.
I never got to read it. Remember?
Okay.
Because it was deleted off
So
Instagram, I think.
yeah, I think it was on Instagram. No, I really like that episode because, for one, again, a guest on, we are able just to kind of like talk a bit more because there's so many different
The dog is running.
perspectives. There's so
I'm
many
like,
perspectives and stuff. So I think we took a lot of tangents. What I do recall from that episode is acting like a cowboy and trying to corral you and my
yes.
mom because it was like
We had to paint the full picture. We couldn't give you a half Picasso. We both had to be Picassos and finish the whole.
I was like, I need a drink. I need a drink.
But I will say it was still a short episode. It was only an hour and a half, so we ain't do too much.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, and back to and where we left off. And so the original question, it was a lot of that. But
Oh, man.
I did like, just the topic itself, and then obviously the two people were amazing. So y'all
Oh,
really
thanks. I appreciate
no, I was
that.
talking to me and my mom. You not so much. I'm just kidding.
You
But,
found me in the episode. And so I will finish this on my own. I'm joking. Yes, I remember that too. I'm trying to think of some of the questions that you asked during this episode. You remember some?
It was one. Remember, I was like, I asked my mom, "Do you have a favorite child?" Oh, update on that. For my birthday, I got a
Mom's
card.
favorite.
And
I remember.
it says Mom's favorite, you guys. So I answered that question.
Yes, I think the question has been answered. Yes, I do. I remember you getting that at Gringos. I mean, not Gringos. Cafe Del Rio, actually. And waving it in your brother's face at the table while we were chugging. What are those? Three-wheel motions? No, 3G. That three-wheel motions, Papados, right?
Papados.
Okay, that surely did get one of those for that Maxwell concert a few weeks ago. Anyway, yes, I do remember this. I did like having Mom on the episode, even though it was funny because when I was going and editing this one, the video, I was like, was she in this? Because remember, she wasn't on camera, and I was like, I thought this was. So yeah, it was fun to watch you go throughout the episode whenever you were listening to her talk.
She was right here, and I was like, "Do you want?" I forgot what happened the night before. I think maybe she had Kato, and so she was like, "I'm tired." Like,
It's like I ain't getting ready for this.
she was like, "I still want to be on."
And I think this was also one of the episodes. Yes, it was the episode before. I think we were supposed to record. This is before we. Oh, Was this before we switched to Yes, this is the episode where we actually did switch to recording on Saturdays because we usually record on Thursdays. But that Thursday was Cassidy's birthday, and I stayed out late at well, we went to happy hour or something like that. And so we were like, just you couldn't do Friday because you had something. So it was like, well, let's just do it Saturday. And so we did it Saturday morning. We were kind of like, do you like this time?
I
Like,
know.
does this work for you? And then thus the no drinking during episodes began. But yes, I remember this. The thing that I remember the most about this episode was actually your mom's big three answers. Because I think
Right.
one of and I think she had two that were yours and then one that was mine, if I'm not mistaken, or it might have been the other way around. But I remember asking her what was one thing that she learned from her parents that she passed on to her kids and one thing that she didn't. And the one that I remember specifically is that didn't, and it was to not be judgmental. And I don't know why that has just stuck with me this whole time because my parents are hella judgmental, but that stuck
Don't let
with me.
Cheryl fool you either. She
Sorry,
is
mom.
definitely judgmental, but she is aware. We love a self-aware queen. So aware.
Okay, well, didn't know that part, but I guess she tried. That's one thing she tried not to pass off.
Mhm.
But I did enjoy this because it was the first time we had. I was going to say the first time we had a non-millennial. Oh, actually, it was. Yeah, it was the first time
Yeah.
we had a non-millennial on the show that was able to give a different perspective of things than just us. And so
Mhm.
it's always good to see how some things have changed with the time, and then how something will just continue to remain the same, especially when it comes to family dynamics and what older generations dealt with their parents, to then obviously what we're dealing with our parents, and then what you will eventually deal with your kids, because obviously I don't want those things. Love them though. Love them. They're great when I can give them back.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think that was a good episode too, because again, I just love your episode so much more than mine.
I definitely
Anything else?
be a reoccurring thing. Like I like having my mom on there. She
I
loves
do.
talking and all that good
With
stuff.
her.
So
What's
probably
the lady that had
more.
the news article thing that she wanted to be like?
Oh,
Uh,
Ask Abby. Is it
is it Ask Abby?
Ask
I don't
Abby?
know. It's something. I remember her saying that she wanted to start her own little at some
Ask
point. So,
Diag because she was a diabetic.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Bring her on. She's more than welcome anytime. She always provides colorful commentary. Our next episode was a me episode, and we jumped in our culture back. Was that for the first time this season? I
Yeah,
think so. And it
we
was
did a
funny because
lot
as I
more
was,
adulting than I thought. Season.
because adulting's kind of the catch-all. So it was like, what
Yeah.
is go? Adulting. Um, I thought this was our first culture one that we've ever done, but I've been getting season 2 and season 3. So I was like kind of looking up, and I saw you grab your water bottle, and I thought peripheral, I thought someone was walking towards you, and my brain said how, but it was just your cup. Don't anyway. Um, I got the seasons
The tea.
confused. I'm sorry. I got the seasons confused because I thought we started this season with the rap shit conversation, which was a
Oh,
culture
that was season
episode. And I was
2.
like, oh, I said that. And then but no, that was totally season 2, which is insane that rap shit. I guess that was that was first season. Okay, that makes sense. It was first season of rap shit. And then, okay. Which again, RIP, definitely missed that show so much. The next episode was, like I said, a culture episode, and it was mine. It was the anti-social media episode where we talked all things social media and the good, the bad, the ugly, and if it's helped or hurt us. I actually just because I'm off of social media, but I have to obviously post our stuff. And
Right.
I schedule everything on Instagram to where, because you could schedule on Instagram, which is great. So I get on Instagram for a day on our page, schedule everything, get off. TikTok does not allow you to schedule things. So I have to put everything in drafts. But
Oh,
if you delete the app, your drafts go away.
right.
So I have to keep that on. And it was funny because I posted one of our things yesterday or something like that. But I went back in because it tells you who likes and favorites, and two people had favorited the clip from this episode where you were talking about using social media as a reference point, not trying to emulate what people. And so I think that resonated a lot. This was actually a very long episode at 2 hours and 20 minutes. But anything you remember from that episode?
I remember honestly when you brought that topic up, talking about social media, I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to have anything to add to this because
Why?
I don't really like social media. But I think my perspectives and
Mhm.
viewpoints and kind of dislike of social media added to the episode. And
Exactly.
so,
And that was
yeah.
something I was trying to do when planning it too, because I know you're not a social media girly. So I was like, how can I structure this that allows one for you to be able to have something to say without going into you having to say how much you hate social media. So I tried to structure it in that way where we, started off on the times when you were in social media, like on the MySpace days and maybe even the early days of Facebook when we were all on social media like crazy people. And then going into the Twitters and the Instagrams and then your favorite platform of all, TikTok. So I think that was fun. It was fun looking at the different, like just going back to how all of it started, like even mentioning like the Yahoo Messengers and AIM and stuff
Yeah.
like that in the beginning of like what the precursors to social media was when we were being social, but there was no media part to it. And then even diving into like, I mean, we did get a little political and how the divisiveness and how social media has kind of turned into that cesspool of misinformation and just negativity when it used to be so just free and light and fun,
Yeah.
and then what it's kind of turned into in the divisiveness as well as of like everything is an ad or everything is like promoting, I'm
Something.
perfect, and it's like, no, look, we all know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was I enjoyed that episode. I
Same.
think that might have been one of my favorite me episodes from this season that I did. And I don't know if it was again because it was the first me episode on ADHD meds, so I actually had time to I was able to focus and prepare an episode properly. But yeah, no, that was a fun episode. Um, Next up, we took another break, and I'm trying to think of why we did this
What
one because
date
the
was
culture.
this?
Say that one more time.
What date was this?
So the culture episode came out August 14th, and then our next episode came out September 11th. And I'm trying to think because it wasn't your birthday. Dad's end of September. No, is Dad early September? No, I don't know.
No,
I
Dad's
don't.
in August. I don't know.
I don't know. Again, maybe sometimes we just don't be wanting to, and
Mm-hmm.
that is okay. Because you know what? Take breaks. Side note, mental health moment. Take care of yourself and take those breaks when you need to, especially when you're not, forced to do anything. Anyway, our next episode came out on September 11th, and it was our third guest of the season. We jumped in our hustling bag and had my friend Cassidy on, where she talked about building her brand Venom, which shameless plug, the second drop is out, and it is called Venom and Chill. She has sweats, a baby doll tee, which I had never heard of before in my life. And did I say sweatpants?
Yeah.
She switched. I feel like she showed us some stuff in the episode, and
Yeah.
she went from it being a hoodie to actually being a zip
Yeah. Yeah.
jacket. And I helped her with that shoot, that behind the scenes of her campaign shoot that she did, but it dropped. So if you're interested and you're in a cold place, go get you some Venom merch. But
I need
yes,
to get because I want the zip.
the Ziggy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, so go to shop Venom on Instagram and all the links are there because I was about to say shop.venom.com, but I'm not sure. But if you go to shop Venom with two M's on Instagram, you can find all of her stuff. But yes, we took a deep dive into building and launching a brand. This is something that she started from the ground up. So yeah, anything you remember from this episode going in?
I remember. Well, for one, I loved having her because she's just so lovely.
Yeah, love Cassie.
I said that.
Or Cassie. Yeah, you did say lovely.
But she is. She's so sweet, so friendly, like just so warm.
Mhm,
And it was cool just to kind of get the background of like what
mhm,
all goes into the making. Because for
mhm.
one, it couldn't be me. Two, I'm like, it's just it's like the creative aspect of it, but then just
Mhm.
kind of like it just never stops. Like
At
you're
all.
always doing something to like continue to further your brand. But I
Mhm,
like just kind of what her brand represents and how she kind of
mhm,
wanted to make it. I think she said just like it's more so of like a lifestyle.
mhm.
And I like that. And so, no, definitely very cool having her on.
And I will say, piggybacking off of what you said about how it never stops, Cassidy also never stops. Like, I don't get how she does everything that she does. But again, this was also a time we had someone from a different generation because Cassidy is Gen Z. And so those children, I don't want to call them children, but children are just a different breed
Breed.
of individuals. Like, I don't understand. I don't see how she does everything that she does, but kudos to her. Even watching her when we were doing the shoot, it was just like just never just high energy, just like ready all the time. And we did that shoot on a Saturday. The next day, she went to Formula One in Austin. So on Sunday, Monday, she worked from home, like for actual work.
Mm-hmm.
But literally, because she had a group message for the models for the shoot, and then me since I was the crew, and we had to sign. She had release forms and everything. Like, she was so official. But she made a group message for us, like when we signed on or whatever, just to keep us informed and where we need to meet, and blah blah blah. Literally that Monday, she's dropping the edited photos. Like, here, this is coming out tomorrow. I'm working on it, and I'm like, we just did this on Saturday, and I'm like,
you blink for a nap or
thank you. And I remember her saying she had a quick turnaround because the launch was actually coming out that Friday, if I'm not mistaken. So she had like and I'm like, the quality, and I think I even told her this whenever it dropped, when she sent us the thing, I was like, the quality and the swiftness to get that done. I'm like, do you sleep?
Yeah.
Do you sleep? And so just kudos to her. Has been interesting just like listening to her talk about building the brand, but then also seeing it and like the dedication that she's done, because she was like reading books on her lunch break at work whenever she would go, and just like to learn and how to brand and market. And so like it's insane. So to actually see the beginning phases of this, of her starting like the planning process to now actually having two collections out,
Yeah.
and the quality of the products that she has is insane, because like obviously I got to feel the material of stuff during the shoot, and I'm just like, this isn't just some I went to Walmart, got a shirt screen printed on it. Like, it's good
Yeah.
shit. And like the band on the sweatpants, I was like, oh, this is some comfortable shit. And so she was telling me, she was like, the guys keep on asking for stuff, so I think I'm gonna try and do just like a small capsule, something. So I'm like, because I just want a hoodie. I just want a hoodie or even some sweats. So she said it's coming. She didn't give me any kind of dates of when it might be, but she did say she's working on a men's like slight thing. It won't be a continuation of always guys. She is still focusing on her Venom girls, as she calls them. But she did want to do a little capsule for us men's. So yes, totally exciting. Definitely enjoyed having her on there. Yeah, that was a fun episode to just learn so much. Our next episode came out September 25th, and it was a Nat production, a crazy little thing called Adulting, a good mix. Yeah, we did have a lot of adulting episodes where Natalie took us through blurring the lines of friends and family and working together, which technically could have been a hustling episode too, but we put it on adulting because we just love that category. What do you remember from this episode?
Yeah, I remember it kind of diving into different categories, because it was like mixing everything, like either mixing friend groups or mixing like professional and friends and working together, and family working together, or you know, just kind of all that good stuff. I remember, I feel like we just had a lot to talk about with that, because there's just so many examples that could come from it. And I
specifically
think
from our lives.
what came from that episode was the reinforcing of boundaries are necessary.
Ooh, yes, they are. Yes,
if you want anything to work. And so, yeah, that was a good episode. I remember that.
It definitely was. Had a good time on that one. I'm trying to think of something. I think that was, we talked about like our relationship in this podcasting thing, and how like the thing that has worked so well for us is being able to communicate. Like, as the listeners now have learned from this episode, there are so many times where we have just like not recorded an episode, and it's just like, okay, it's fine, because we're able to communicate and say like, I'm just not feeling it today. Okay, or I actually have something to do, something came up, and not being like, I mean, I think we do our best to like, oh, do we want to try and do it another day? If it doesn't work, it's not like, well, fuck it, I don't like it anymore. It's like, okay, shit happens. Like, what are we? So being able to have those kind of open and honest conversations when you are working with friends, I think it's just necessary, which is what we kind of reiterated in that episode,
And
which
just kind of know
amazing.
the person that you're working with too, and playing to like the strengths and weaknesses and whatnot.
Yes, yes, because that was when you said you just show up, and no, you don't, because as we have learned through this thing, some of the best episodes have been your episodes, and where you aren't just showing up, you actually have to prepare something. So don't be selling yourself short in
Hmm.
that one. Um, yes, that was a good episode, and again, the thing that is so crazy to me because as we began this episode, I mean, yeah, as we began this episode, how you said, like going into season three, like, what are we going to talk about? It's crazy how we have continued to find either new things to talk about or a different perspective to give to a topic we've already done.
Right.
Because I think next season we'll hit our 100th episode, which again, crazy. And the
Crazy.
fact that we haven't done, outside of like the two Am I the Asshole episodes that I think we've done, we haven't done anything the same yet, or
Yeah.
we haven't done anything the same, and we haven't repeated we haven't become, I don't know what I'm trying to say at this point, but we found new ways to continue having conversations in different ways or bringing new people into conversations that we've already had to give a
Yeah.
different perspective. And so I think that's been super fun. So with working with friends, it's also about the collaborative efforts that we put into making sure that we are able to do something fun and that it doesn't get boring because it would be terrible to just come on the show and be like, so, how you doing?
Yep, it's
All
going.
right, yeah.
All
Exactly. Can you
right.
imagine? We would have stopped this after season one. Um, our next episode was on October 9th, so we're getting closer to our more recent stuff. Was a Shoot the Shit episode titled So Much Shit, which again, we caught up on what? So much shit. Including, I think, was this the episode we did talk about the Menendez? Yes, this is when we talked about the Menendez stuff. I think that was around that era of things. And then also, I think this is where you had kind of officially said about your plans to move for the first time because we had both been going through like having the pulling of like something needs to change. Like we both
Yeah.
needed change in our lives. And I think this might have been around the time where I officially decided where I was going to move. Like I was pretty kind of dead set on that one by that point, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure. Yes,
I,
this was, I think, actually the day we recorded this was, I think, the day I signed my lease. If I look at my calendar, I'm pretty sure. Yes, it is. We recorded this and it was the day that I signed my lease. So I was kind of like, okay, finally out of that phase. And now we're just, because again, as you can see, boxes are still there. The moving is commencing. But yeah, our next episode was actually the last episode uh, of the season before this lovely finale was last week's family episode that I did, the Am I the Asshole reunion episode where we jumped down our favorite Reddit threads of Am I the Asshole, where we, you know, voiced our opinion on if these people were in the right or in the wrong. Anything you remember about this episode, even though it shouldn't be too hard to remember because it just happened recently?
so when we're talking about favorite episodes, this is my favorite episode. Like, keep bringing these.
Okay.
I think that they're hilarious, and I don't want to bring them because I don't want to know what they are, and so
Okay.
bringing them because I mean that last one. I just recall when we were talking about gender disappointment and an authentic reaction from us because I
Yes.
was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted.
And that was the same reaction I had when I was going. Because I don't know if you've ever actually been onto Reddit's Am I the Asshole thread?
Mm,
There are millions
yeah, we
of
need to.
these. So I try to do some ones that are current, some that are older. You can filter them, excuse me, by like what has the most comments or what has the
Mhm.
most whatever. But when I read that first line of my mom never wanted a boy, I said, huh,
Oh,
okay, let me click that one. I did
and
the
you know,
Christina Aguilera.
that's so relevant. A lot of people, and it's
Honestly
just
and
kind of
truly.
like that's sad. But you know
It
what?
is. Could you imagine? I'm so glad that and granted, okay, no, nowhere to that extent, but my mom wanted a girl so
Mhm.
bad, like as our first, because even to this day, my mom still doesn't have any girls.
Sure,
But I remember like apparently I was very shy in the womb, so they didn't know that I was a boy until 8 months in.
I was very
So
shy.
they had a my baby shower was girl
It
or
was wait.
yellow. I think everything was yellow because no
Okay.
one knew they couldn't determine. So my mom had names. I think I was going to be Taylor. I remember that from my baby book because she had other names and it was like five girl names and then there was one or two boy names because I was either going to be my dad's middle name or the name that I have. But so many girl names and the top pick that she had circled was Taylor. So I wasn't going to be a Taylor until, but she never made me feel bad for coming out a boy, unlike him. And here we are, 31 years later, and we still,
Chugging along.
we're doing the best that we can. So yes, I do enjoy the Am I the Assholes too, because again, it gives us an opportunity to not focus on our lives and the
Yeah.
things we're going through and listen to other people's horror stories. Um, Even though sometimes they aren't horror stories, because sometimes they aren't the asshole. And I was mad, not mad, but as I was like going back through it, I was like, damn, I didn't find any where someone was the
But
asshole. It was
yeah.
everybody wasn't. So okay, I will make a mental note of that for the next season to make sure that I have at least one of those um, on the docket. But anything else you remember from that episode that you wanted to bring in before we kind of begin to wrap up the first part of this
No,
finale of sorts?
nothing to add. Like I said, it's just my favorite. They're funny, pure belly laughs.
Pure comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so that brings us to the end of that portion of this part of the episode. We have officially gone through all of the craziness that we have provided you all via Sonic experiences. So we hope that now that you've listened to this, if there is an episode that we've covered that you did not get to listen to, that you're like, that might be interesting. I do hope that you go back and listen. And before we close out this part of the finale, because like I said, it will be two parts, and the next part we will focus kind of more on ourselves and the growth that we've done through the year. I do have three because big three always is fun.
Uh-huh.
Questions, not crazy ones this time, about the season that I would like us to answer. And I think they'll pretty much be easy because I think we've kind of talked about some of them. But are you ready? Dun, dun, dun.
Mm-hmm.
This will be the part where, whenever
Okay.
on the read, where Kid Fury does sports shorts and he does the after. I know you haven't listened forever. Did you ever get to experience a Kid Fury sports short?
Short shorts. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay. So you know how he would just randomly come in there. But anyway, so I have just three questions. The first one was, what was your favorite part or thing about season three as a whole? And then they have to be specific, like an episode. Just what did you enjoy? I guess what did you enjoy the most about season three?
I think, like I said, I like the Emma the asshole episodes that
Hmm.
we do, and then I liked our guests this
Hmm.
season. Like I said, it was the first time having my mom on there, and so I really liked that because it was just cool. But yeah, that's what I would say.
Okay, that's good. We don't have to be too. We don't have to go too philosophical. But I think my favorite part of this season was the range of episodes this season. I think we had a lot of different types of episodes. Again, we had a lot of adulting ones, but all the adulting episodes were not
We're
the same.
different. Yeah,
They were all different in some way. So I think that was my favorite part, is being able to just like talk about so much. I don't want to say random stuff, but so much stuff and
yeah.
actually have things to say about them. I think that was my favorite part. Next one, what was the thing you were the most proud of for season three?
Hmm.
Mhm. Thought provoking. Take time to chew on that. That little ASMR,
Yeah.
AS. Which one?
ASMR.
Okay. What does that stand for?
I have no idea,
Okay.
but I think kind of what we say every, I was going to say year, season, whatever,
Dang
is like just kind of the level of comfortability. I
That was
always struggle on
literally
that word.
mine.
And then just like the level of like openness and vulnerability, like just kind of
I
being open to talk about things.
1000% agree, and because that
Mhm.
literally was going to be mine. I have written down comfortability. Like I feel like this season was the first time that I just felt comfortable with everything that was going on. And I think that goes from one, us using this platform now and
Yeah.
not being on the couch and then worrying about like, we need to
How was
hide like our, we have to deal with all that. And so this is the first time it was like, I wasn't like nervous to start an episode, which is weird because I was like, oh, what are we gonna do and all this stuff like that. It was just very comfortable. And then we,
Yeah.
like you said, opened this too with something that was really good, which we said we were going to continue on doing in the next season. But yeah, definitely the comfortability of this season was good. I think we finally found our stride in a sense.
Mhm.
And it's weird because we've had, 3 guests this season and specifically 2 of them uh, outside of your mom because she's been around for forever. But with Brooks and Cass, like every time we start and we're just like, and they're like, oh, y'all are really like, I was like, I guess we are kind of used to it now. And it's weird because I remember so much, and I think I said this in the Cassidy episode when either maybe it was on camera, maybe this was in between recording, but when she mentioned something that also when we used to have the game nights, and people were like, "Oh, like how nervous people would get to start," and then we would start, and we're just like, "And switch, let's go!" Like the fact that we've been able to just continue along, I think that is the coolest thing. Last question before I get on another tangent, I can paint a picture. Last thing is, what is something you don't want to continue doing in season 4? And that can either be personally or as far as the show goes, something that you don't like that we have done that you want to change up. I told you I had some good questions. Chat
Okay,
GPT
you
ain't
answer
even helping with
first.
these.
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Something that I want to stop doing is saying lovely and
Oh.
using my hands. I don't understand why they pop up. Yeah. I think okay, so then that would be I would just want to get I don't want it to become too not contrived, but I don't want to be a politician where stop talking instead of saying like I do want it to be natural, but I also
Yeah.
don't want to the whole damn episode or say lovely whenever maybe that's my nervous tick because I don't do that in real life, but the minute I get on here, lovely is the first word that pops into my head. So I need to read a thesaurus.
What was the word that I would say all the time? I think it was in season 2. Remember?
Oh, yes, I do, and I don't remember what it's.
Because I have
Not
this.
necessarily. Granted? Was it granted? No,
No.
I don't know, but I do remember there was something in season 2 that you would always say. You were like, "Why do I keep saying that?" So look at you. You already got better because obviously, if we don't remember, that means you using it.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if there's something that I would want to change or stop doing. Because I'm not going to stop drinking coffee. I'm not going to stop drinking water. It's just going to always be.
Hopefully, we can incorporate some liquor back into this because, sometimes I feel like that was a thing too. Like when we was getting tip, I'm like, did it just flow? the words
were just going.
Yeah, they were there, and now we're over here sober. For life.
I would like maybe to, because even though you love my episodes, I feel like I could do more with like putting in some structure because I do the structure, but the things literally be popping to me last minute. So I think I want to start writing down things because even this week with one of my clients, I was like, oh, that could be a good episode.
I be note taking halfway through because my ADHD brain will forget. So I'm like, when she said that to me.
I think about podcast episodes when it's not close or when it's not mine, and so I just need to like jot them down.
Same.
So that's what
I would be having so many ideas. And I'm like, oh, we should do this, and then when it's time to actually like get, I'm like,
nothing comes to mind.
What was it? Well, I don't even feel like talking about that no more. But I'm like, that would have been a good episode. Where I'm not in the mindset of it. Yeah, write it down right now. Yes, I agree. That is But overall, I have thoroughly enjoyed this season. And even to just look back at the growth podcastically that we've had. Creating words. I'm never changing that. Just from season 1. And like even looking at like, excuse me, I think of the covers from season 1 to then 2 to then now. I don't plan on changing this cover for a while. Because I think we're just gonna stick right there with him. But just like to see the growth and evolution that we have done. And
Yeah.
so I'm super excited about it. I love the direction we're heading in. And I'm hoping that now that we are both, comfortable in it, that like season 4 we can just focus on growing and bringing better topics and content and all that fun stuff as we continue on this journey through Podcast Landia. See, there goes my hands again. I'm gonna stop. Uh, yeah. So, is there anything you want to add to this portion of things, our review of the actual season?
No, I think we covered everything.
Great. Well, in that case, we are going to wrap up part 1 of this finale. Again, we said it's a 2-part, so make sure you do tune back in to listen to our review of our lives over the past year. And again, we're doing this in November, so it's not going to be the full year. Things could definitely shake the table in December, but we will pretend like they won't. So stay tuned. Be sure to follow us as always on Instagram and TikTok at Crazy Little Pod. If you have questions you want to send us during our break, whenever that comes up, that we can use for season 2, send that to askcrazylittlepod@gmail.com. So I think if I'm missing anything, I think that actually is it. So we're going to skedaddle. That's a new one. I haven't used that word before. We're going to skedaddle, and we will see y'all in part of this episode. So take care of yourselves.